Hello everybody, welcome back to some more Storybook Brawl. After the most recent September 1st patch, or well August 31st I guess it officially dropped here, we got some changes, a whole lot of them, and then by the time I got around to playing today on the 1st, some things had been changed, reverted, they got rid of the silly bugbear that was causing a lot of issues. Wanted to give a shot at playing with some spells here with the Potion Master. So the first shop there, I was gonna snap off the Baby Dragon, but I thought better of it and thinking, well, if we're gonna play Potion Master, we're gonna want to hit hat. Merlin's hat plus the crystal ball. By the end game, so we kind of want to have familiars if we're going to be in that spot. So took the familiar, and then second round, even though another familiar showed up, we had the option to cast a targeted spell. So that actually gave +3/+3 to the black cat that we eventually got out of the unicorn that I picked up, and then that kind of led us down this garden path of having this kind of mishmash board, but we got some more spells matters units, which is always nice. Lucky's a pretty good pickup here on 3.0 as well, because that can help us facilitate either rolling more or just, you get a unit for free or a unit for 1 gold where you can just grab it and then roll and not worry too much about it afterwards. So this next shop is pretty nice because we do get a free spell, which isn't going to nerf any of our units, and also has the opportunity to kill off, say, adventurers or other such nonsense, polywoggles, etc., that might be trying to happen on the other side of the board. And as well, we have the Trojan Donkey in the mix as well, that can kind of, also get us a little bit too more. So I stop on this one and think, well, there's a double 3 cost in the shop here. And we really do want to triple up 3 cost units to get the Merlin's hat and the crystal ball to get to that coveted combo which we're looking for. So pretty easy choice there. Pick up the first 3 in the first shop, and then, lucky hits not on the unit we wanted to buy, but we got a free unit anyways, which is just +1 gold overall. So could have been +2 gold overall, but sometimes never lucky as it is, but can't complain about that too much. And here we have another option to grab another 3 on a double, and we've already got half of what we need already, so things are looking pretty promising at this point. Even though we're kind of losing a lot of lobbies in the row, it is all about the setup in the early game. So you can lose, if you lose early, you lose less health overall towards the end of the match, or towards the end of the lobby, when player levels get higher. And things get a lot tougher when if you lose a match, or if you lose a round where you could lose 20 health at a time, as opposed to only losing, like, say, 5, 7, maybe 10 at most if you get really unlucky. So we keep going all along here. So I have a targeted spell in the shop as well as a double on a 3 cost unit, although I think I'm gonna kind of pass up on it this time around, because I have triples of 3 cost units that I want to find anyways, and then we kind of luck out in finding our familiar here as well. So, and then we get a nice 1 cost spell to kind of even everything off and make the familiar a little bit bigger to boot. So can't frown at that too much at all. So take a little bit of a loss on Merlin here, who's running pretty strong with his buffs, and we get rewarded at the end finding Merlin's hat. So we've assembled 2/3 of the ultimate combo We now just need to find the fork, which will copy any spells that cost 2 or less. And that's a 4-cost spell. And this gingerbread princess, the Nutcracker, which is both a treant and a princess, this will come into play later on, as I'll explain, is a decent way to try and find that composition. And besides, we don't have any other 4s that we really want for the spells matters type of build, with the exception being like maybe if we have like Sporko or Lady of the Lake, those mage type minions that would matter when we get Aeon going, and other things that, well, the Aeon's the only thing that makes mages matter, right? So I also realize here that Friendly Spirit is a really good unit to have going with Hatball, because it's something you can just throw your buffs onto, and when it dies, it'll give its buffs, whatever buffs you put on it, to another unit as well. Also matters because of one of the creature types on it, which is Monster, which will matter again because there is a targeted spell that matters only to monsters. So you kind of want to have this perfect composition of units that have those different unit types for those specific targeted spells. And here we do find the forking rod, so that's easy. We now have the not perfect trifecta, but pretty darn close. Hat, ball, and fork. And then we can just start going off as long as we keep finding those targeted spells, we can keep going on them. So this is where our APM and kind of practice, like if you play some Peter Pants and you have that kind of experience playing that style, you can kind of make those decisions earlier. Now a real nice trick with Beauty's Influence, the one that turns an evil character good and gives it +4 health, interacts really well with the Snowflake one. I forget what it's called, but it turns an evil character good and gives it +1/+1. Now the interaction here is that good, the one that you cast the Snowflake one, which turns it good, actually doesn't change the alignment because the Beauty's Influence overrides it and it remains good. So we can keep casting that over and over on that unit. So that's kind of an interaction you want to be aware of, and you kind of want to keep that unit around so you can always cast that the Snowflake spell over again, and then change it to an evil unit, which is technically good. The only thing is you kind of run out of Beauty's Influence targets at some point along the way, but that's not so bad. We can always find another use for it. We eventually pick up this Spellweaver at some point, which is going to help with the Spells Matters theme. And then here we finally find our second Aeon. Aeon got a nice little buff in the recent patch where it gave it a little bit more attack on a base, as well as gave it a nice slay ability. Like this, the slay ability becomes super relevant here in the last game, because even when you have Merlin's Hat, there are a couple of the targeted spells that cost originally 5, like the Gigantify and the Monstrify, I think are the name of the 2 spells. One that buffs the attack by 10, one that buffs the health by 10. But if you get a Slay off with your Aeon, you can reduce that cost by 1, or now that I have an upgraded Aeon, 2 even. And that makes it so that you can cast those spells without having to worry too much anymore. So I was kind of playing around with the donkey here, but eventually we'll come to realize later on that having a great big donkey on the back line, even though it's going to be spawning tier 6 units, is probably not as optimal as having something better back there. So eventually we'll find a better unit to put back there, but it's not a bad one to have as your last man standing type of thing, right? So if you can't find something that can do 112 damage to it in one shot, you're going to get a nice little unit out of it at the end. But pretty much going along here where we can't cast something relevant or see one of the units we're looking for. So at this point we're looking for more Aeons, Storm King. We finally find the big bad boy here. And then we'll find another one pretty much right after it. Although we can't afford it at this point, so we're just going to have to eat the 1 gold lost, cast a nice free spell on top of that, which gets us a couple of more buffs. And then we'll be able to pick up that second Storm King at this point, or, well, next shop. And then I kind of realized at this point that my Spellweaver, even though it's just a unupgraded, not so special Spellweaver, he's grown really, really big with all of these spells that I've been casting recently. So here we see this at work where the Gigantify, it's cost 0 because the Aeon got the Slay last round. So we got to kind of be careful when we're devouring units and the ending units as well, that you don't kind of eat up all of the characters that you need to be able to cast your spells on. So we need to make sure that we keep that Nutcracker around for the Princes and Princesses spell and the Treant spell. So we got that covered. We've got the Friendly Spirit for the monster spell. And then everything else is covered, though. We can cast the Sugar and Spice, like the Good Unit spell, or the Witch's Brew spell, because we've got good and evil units out there. And then all of the other ones don't need specific restrictions to target. So we're not too worried about that. Kind of hummed and hawed on that Knighthood, a 6-cost Knighthood, because of the Aeon and the Merlin's Hat thing. And then looking at it's kind of a sad story that we don't even have something that we can True Love's Kiss. So maybe that's something that we could have done earlier on, but with Potion Master, the spells that you cast really do matter. And then here, picking up a Wizard Scroll with an upgraded Aeon plus 2 regular Aeons just gives so many buffs all over the place. It's really was pretty funny here to see coming up against some of these people. Their endgame compositions aren't the greatest by any stretch of the imagination. Like, there wasn't anything super broken that anybody was doing, except for when we go up against the Princes and Princesses in his final form actually was pretty decent. But here we can see all of the silliness and the all of the animations going on. Like, thankfully the dev team got all of this together they've got it working pretty seamlessly. Like, even though we've got all these Aeon animations going on, it's relatively smooth, and we can keep casting our spells over and over again to just kind of keep it ramping up there really nicely and give us... Honestly, like I think I said during the stream there, it was not the most disgusting board that you can have, but it is pretty darn oppressive, I'm going to have to say. But, you know, we did get lucky to get there, and we did put in the work, and we've got I have some repetitions playing a lot of the Peter Pants games to know exactly how you have to work everything together with this endgame composition. I actually passed up on an Aeon there. I didn't even realize before, but kind of what we had to do. We didn't have the gold to afford it anyways, and I wanted to cast another targeted spell, so that is what it is. But yeah, appreciate everybody for the views. Hope you enjoyed this kind of exhibition of what the new Aeon can do for us. You know, now that we can cast those extra 2 targeted spells for a little bit cheaper, makes everything that much better. I appreciate you all, and we will see you in the next one.